I was a kid, so I grew up kind of exposed to that idea that if you get together with community, you can engage the community, you can get to know your neighbors, and you realize that you all have a lot of shared interests and shared concerns. In high school, I started to get more involved directly with organizing. I did what's called counter-recruitment. So I would go next to the military recruiters in my high school, and I would put up a table and I would say, don't join the military, here are some other things you can do. And that was my first interaction with like standing up to administration, standing up to adults and saying that I have a voice too, you can't just tell me that this is the only option. So that was high school, like getting involved more with organizing students, organizing my peers. I'm working for an organization right now, it's called USAS, United Students Against Sweatshops. And essentially my job is to organize students across campuses in Chicago, college campuses, to have conversations just like this about what workers' rights means, what labor justice is, what their role as students can be in shaping our experiences as workers and our communities. There's this term called poverty wages, and it's usually used when describing the wages that people make that aren't even enough to sustain them or lift them out of poverty. It's almost like you're locked in, and there's a lot of families that will talk about how even though they've been in this country for generations, they're locked into poverty, like they can't escape it. Poverty wages is one really important reason why that exists. So we'll talk more about that, but thank you for sharing.
Union organizing fast food joints like McDonald's and stuff like that in California. Organizing the people who work in those places to demand higher wages, right? And he was like, that's really stupid, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. And I was like, why not? So instead of being like, all right, this is fucking hanging up on him, I was like, why not? Give me your piece. And for me, it was like, I want to hear the rhetoric, right? Once we talked about this, people stating things as if they are facts and they are real, and not knowing the critical stuff behind all of that, right? Yeah. So he said, and I want you all to tell me how I should have responded. He said, you know what? They're the dumbasses who end up working there, period. So if you're working at a fast food restaurant and you've been working there for more than 1 year and you're like 45, that's your dumbass fault. Like, why the hell did you end up at a fast food restaurant? You should have gone to school. You should have done something like join the army. You should have if you really want to do something for yourself, you would do it. He's like, so if those dumbasses end up being at those like fast food restaurants and that's their living wage and that's where they're stuck at, then they don't have a will to live. That's on them.
Can I see the ball? I would be like, it's not my dumbass fault. It's the dumbass economy's fault that I can't afford college. Because it's not like I don't want to go. I'm trying really hard to get there. But if push comes to shove and I can't afford it, my only option is to stay home and help my mom raise 2 kids. That's all I have. She needs help. She needs me. And leaving her is gonna be hard, but I'm trying to get to college. So when I get out of college, then I can fully put my foot down and be like, look, I'm taking out Annie, I'm taking out Vicky, and you're gonna be straight and I'm gonna take care of you now, just like you took care of me. But if we can't afford that, then I can't do that. So that's not my mom's dumbass fault. That's not my dumbass fault, because I'm smart as hell and I'm gonna admit it. I work my ass off to be smart. So me being in that fast food joint is putting food on the table for the 2 babies that got it hurt.
What do you think about that?
Was pissed off. It's unnecessary.
Unnecessary. Why is it unnecessary?
I thought it was necessary just for that school. Because that school was terrible. Like, school was like messed up. Like that school would either get turned around and closed, and they closed it.
What school?
Okay.
Mayo.
Ma'am. Mayo.
Back there and then over here.
They said they were being underutilized and underfunded. The problem with it being underutilized is that they suspend students suspend and expel you for like minor infractions such as cursing or coming to school tardy. Then they kick you out of school. Now it's a part of it being underfunded is because the more students you put out, that's the more money you lose. So it was as if it was set up that way so that they can purposely close down these schools so they can create charter expansions, so that the corporations can now run the education system.
Money's being taken away from you. You can't expect to come up with the results that expected, right? Like, so if you want me to perform at 100%, you need to give me the resources and tools that I need to perform at 100%. You can't take every year from me and then expect 100%, right? What we're doing is saying, instead of cutting and cutting on healthcare, cutting on schools, and cutting in like every area you can possibly imagine, maybe we need to ask people, like those that are making a lot of money, to just pay more in taxes, right? Let them pay what they should be paying, and try to balance the budget by asking people who have money to pay more, right? Instead of trying to balance the budget on like your sister's back, right? By closing down schools in the neighborhood, or in making you pay for it, right? By getting all these resources and classes taken from your school.
People were trying to like talk to them, but what I didn't like was the lady that walked up to me and Chris and she was like, y'all are wrong. I make $100,000 a year and my kids don't get no free lunch. I'm not signing y'all petition and nobody else should have applied.
Where's she at, Rick?
It was fun, like getting the signatures. But when you go to people that rejected you, like the reason they rejected you, I'm like, seriously, do you really wake up talking like this? Like, did you just wake up on that dumb juice today? And I say that because this woman, she said to me, and I was sitting there, why are we signing this and we all poor? Like, seriously, it's because you're poor that you're paying more money. Now I pass, and one time next to come out, now I pass too. And then we have people that speak in Spanish, but when she's trying to talk in Spanish to the man, he tried to hit on her.
Oh. Like, why are we even talking about this? I'm not gay. This is a waste of my time. But the fact is, even if you don't identify as lesbian, gay, is it okay if I say queer and that just means everything?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was something different.
So the fact is, like, even if you don't identify as those things, homophobia, that can affect you, right? So do me a favor and just raise your hand if you know anybody who is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer. Let's take a look around, pretty much everybody in the room, right?
Easy.
Okay, so keep your hand up if that person is in your family. And it could be blood family, or it could be somebody that's just like a very close person in your life that you consider family. Okay, so there's a lot of hands, the majority of the people in the room. Okay, so you put your hands down for me, thank you. I'm sure we can come up with a bunch of like not so nice words, right. Okay, so raise your hand if you've ever heard anybody get called that, anybody. Keep your hand up if you know for a fact that the person who got called that is not gay. Does everybody understand that? So you heard somebody, for example, get called a fag, and you know for a fact that they are not gay, they just got called a fag. Okay. So look around the room, that's everybody in here, right? Yeah. So homophobia, first off, do people know what that means?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Fear of gay people.
You hate on gay people, you're scared of gay people? Perfect, yeah, that's exactly what it means. So it's like, it's an irrational fear of anybody who's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, right? So it's important to know that even if, somebody could say something homophobic about you or about somebody else, and they don't have to be queer, they don't have to be gay, lesbian, right? And we're all affected by homophobia, even, it doesn't matter how we identify, like, society has these little boxes of how people are supposed to look, right? And we're gonna talk more about that later, especially when they're queer. And I do have some statistics on that, and in Chicago, over half of the people that are homeless under the age of 18, in fact, it's actually like closer to 60%, is because they're queer, because they came out, or it's because of their gender identity. So if we're talking about there being enough money and not being homelessness, they're not being homelessness. One of the things that we can do to change the world is to just support people who are going through something like that. I don't know if anybody here has ever been homeless. It sucks. It changes your life, So to add that to a world that in a lot of ways is telling you that you're wrong, that you're bad, that you're dirty, that you're going to hell, like, these are things that queer people hear all the time. So if you could just have somebody's back and not tell them that garbage and not pick a fight with them, you might really be changing somebody's life right there, okay? So like lately I've been growing out my hair, I'm wearing men's pants but this is a women's shirt, it's all about how you present, how you walk in the world. If you have a switch, if you
know, walk like a slut or something, but you know, like, you can present in different ways, and really gender is more about a performance. Does this make sense to people? Yeah. So like you said, it's more how you feel, more how you show yourself. Okay. So then there's something different that's called sexual orientation. Who knows what that means?
I do.
You want the difference between gender and sexual orientation? What did you say?
Just if you could just explain me what sexual orientation is.
Oh, sexual orientation is like how you identify with, well, who do you, well, I guess, how you identify with the way you act toward another sex, or which sex, or the same sex, I guess.
The sexual preference.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, a person who is attracted to and has relationships with men, that's bisexual, right?
Yes, because a lot of youth in prison are actually being molested and sexually assaulted and nothing's being done about it. They're being counted out because they're in prison.
Can you tell me about your sign?
My sign says that America feels it's young, and I stand by that 100%. I mean, we live in a system where they ignore the young people, especially the black and brown youth, where they incarcerate us more often than they incarcerate any youth. I mean, youth of color are in prison, and they fill up the prison system. We just got assaulted by the police today, you know, harassed and addressed by the police today, even coming here because they thought that we were attacking our boss who was leading us here. And it's just those racial disparities in the American prison system. And when the kids get incarcerated in the American prison system, the prison industrial complex is basically a new slave trade, and it's a new sex slave trade.
Thank you.
While I was in there, I was basically, like, I would see kids, like, when I would talk to some of the other girls, because they're kind of separated into boys and girls, when I would talk to some of the other girls, like the older girls, they would tell stories that if they had been in there for, like, some time already, like a year already, 6 months even, that they had been, like, they would tell other girls that they had been raped, or they had, by some of the security guards, then, like, that some of the girls had been beat up by security guards with their candles, with their sticks or whatever. Just like, sometimes it was just because they were being picked on, or it was just because, like, when they would try.
What my sign means is prisons destroy our youth, that's what it says. And it does that because a lot of the time when young people are locked up, like I was actually, what happens is they actually don't feel any regret or learn anything new. What happens is most of the time they learn more criminal enterprise, or it just continues on the cycle in the end. So if you ask me, it ends up just destroying our lives and further throwing us deeper into a cycle.